Thank you everyone for joining us today. We are joined by three very distinct panelists. I'm really excited for today's webinar. We're going to cover the topic of how do we go ahead and approach upsells? How do we offer upsells to make more profit and to increase kind of our guest experience? So a little bit to kind of kick off. My name is Paul Zukowskis. I'm the VP of Customer Success for Guesty, based out of North and South America. I'm personally based out of California. So if you have any questions or want to get together after this webinar, please feel free to reach out to me, paul@guesty.com. All right, so a little bit about this panel that I've been hyping up already. So from Arca Properties, we're joined by Giacomo Trends. He's a managing partner there. From Duve, we have a customer success manager, Pauline Weinreich. And then from UpsellGuru, we've got their head of sales, Scott Reed. And so more from each one of them in a few minutes. So a little bit about kind of the agenda, the way that we've got it laid out today. We get to listen to me talk for a few more minutes about some statistics about what Guesty is seeing in the marketplace. From there, we'll ask that each one of our panelists present a little bit about their offering and what they're doing in the upsell space. And then we'll have a light discussion and then some Q&A. Keep in mind, as a moderator, I always think it's best to kind of interject some questions from the Q&A into the panel discussion. So don't wait until the end to submit questions. Please feel free to submit them as they kind of come top of mind for you. All right, so a little bit about what Guesty's been seeing this summer so far in the travel trends world. If you are one of these staunch believers in 2020 that there's going to be this revenge travel, this pent-up demand that's going to fire away as soon as the vaccine came out, you were correct. We are seeing drastic increases in numbers. So if we're comparing against 2020, I know that the United States this summer has already seen a 270% increase in kind of the amount of reservations that have come in. But 2020 is an anomaly, right? So let's look at it through the lens of 2019. If you're thinking that there's this pent-up demand, it is there. We're seeing 80% higher kind of reservation numbers than we did in 2019. This same trend has continued through the UK and through Australia. So we're seeing that the UK, because they were locked down in 2020, is already 700% higher this summer in reservations than they were last summer. And then also Australia is already, it's their winter month right now, but they're already up 226% over what we saw last year at this time. So what does this pent-up demand mean as far as revenue, the thing that we're really all here for, which is the money at the end of the day? And so when we're looking at how are the reservations performing monetarily versus how they were performing in years past, we're seeing that in 2020, PMCs are able to charge 30% higher per reservation than they were in previous years. And then the same is true across the UK. We're seeing a very similar kind of growth curve. And then in Australia, they essentially are almost doubling their rates to accommodate for this pent-up demand, this high volume of guests that are checking in. And so they're 83% higher than where they were in 2020. All right, so looking forward, what are we seeing? We still have one large holiday left this summer in the United States, and that is Labor Day. For Labor Day, we're already 100% higher. We're seeing that people feel comfortable booking that far out in advance in that booking window. And so if you still have availability for Labor Day locally here in the United States, go ahead, jack up those rates because the guests are coming. For Thanksgiving, people are already looking out to the winter holidays, right? So they're looking at November and they feel comfortable traveling in November. And so we're seeing a 56% higher reservation rate in November versus this time last year. Christmas, even higher than what we're seeing in Thanksgiving, which is really interesting. People are getting their Christmas plans together. And so we're 81% higher this year over last year, and then 45% higher than where we were in 2019 at this time. And then that same kind of Christmas trend is carrying through in the UK, although they're only 30% higher versus the 80% that we're seeing in the Americas right now. All right, so a little bit about Guesty. If you don't know, Guesty is an end-to-end solution that automates a lot of the complex operational needs of your property management business. We allow you to connect to a multitude of channels, and will help you from your content creation all the way through your guest experience, the checkout, reviews, and the financial elements. So some of the features that I'd really like to spotlight today are automation tools. So Guesty stands by its best-in-class kind of unified inbox. As part of that unified inbox, we offer a whole host of automated message triggers and custom filters so that your automated messages don't actually feel like automated messages. Alongside kind of that unified inbox, we offer auto responses. And so we're using smart bots, smart widgets to pre-populate some responses for your guests. Additionally, on the payment processing side, we handle a lot of auto payments. We help you with your auto reviews. And then lastly, your auto pricing. So if you are doing calendar-based pricing, they'll leverage a lot of Guesty's automation tools to kind of inform your rates. So that's a lot from Paul at this time. So why don't we start kind of going through our panel and start hearing what they have to add. So our first speaker today is Giacomo Trends from Arca Properties. Giacomo, take it away.
Really happy to be here. At the end of the day, we are a proud Guesty user. I mean, we're here based in Luxembourg. So I'll give you a brief intro about myself, about the company that we are representing, Arca Properties, and kind of like what we do here in the market in the region, how we were finding a unique factor in order to differentiate ourselves, and then as well also really important how to kind of compete in a crowded market, and specifically in COVID times. So I will just run you through a few things that we were doing here, and we will act as a use case or like a case, kind of like a study to give you like a brief intro on what are the things that work for us, specifically if we want to increase profits, which we are all very interested about. So at the end of the day, a little bit of background to myself. I mean, I come from a hospitality background. So it was a day-to-day activity kind of for being a Croatian, coming from this background and offering hospitality. So my family, we manage hotels, marinas, bars, restaurants, you name it, we did it. So I was kind of like very much early on involved in that kind of process. And so we launched Arca as a service in Luxembourg. And the service is pretty straightforward, that what we do is we do property management. So it's very important to differentiate the different business models. So for the people listening now on today's call, what we focus on is specifically apartments. So we don't have necessarily like hotels or other like of these kind of units in our portfolio. So what I will focus on as well, and on the strategies that we use, is very much focused obviously on those kind of on this kind of portfolio. So we have three main focus points that we do. So what we do is we focus and we optimize. We find space and we optimize space. The second thing is we are creating an experience for the customer. So it's very much important when we talk about upselling and finding ways how we can drive more profit. Focusing on customer experience is one of the key factors that matter in performing better and finding like a key factor that allows you to differentiate yourselves among others and your competitors. And the third thing that we do is we try to automate workflows. And I think here's the best, today is the best call to talk about automation. And I think Guesty and Duve and UpsellGuru, they are definitely there in order to help you with that. So this is why we're all here. And what are the things that we were doing in order to find unique aspects in order to drive more profits? So what I like to always explain is that you have to stretch the line in order to find ways to get more services out there. So understanding the business model means that you have to find to know which kind of service is included in the offering that you have and what is actually excluded. And then you stretch the line and you try to actually include more and more services inside of that offering. So that's what we were doing actually. And you got to be creative, because we started in we launched before COVID time. So we had to be really creative with what we're doing. So one of the key things and the differentiations that I want to talk about today is what is offline versus online upsell possibilities, and how can you pocket more profit by doing one or the other. So one of the first things once you take on a project and you take over a property is obviously it was a chicken and egg problem. How can you furnish an apartment beautiful, because beauty sells, and the higher actually the nightly rate can be, well, obviously your margin increase as a result automatically. So one of our key first services that we started to sell in an offline way, additionally to the normal property management that we were doing, was actually to decorate and furnish apartments and make sure that the quality and the service always like increases and it has a certain standard. By doing so, you bring down your costs. So this is one way, and actually increasing the profits and the margin. So by reducing the cost and by increasing the nightly rate, obviously you have an immediate effect on how you can pocket more profits. So the same time and effort which is needed to operate a room or a luxurious apartment is just a difference in margin afterwards. So what we do is we launch actually a new service which is called Arca Home. So we launched this. It's an interior design service that we offer to our clients, where we have an in-house team that offers design and mood boards, where then the customer selects from these design and mood boards. We then furnish a property, we take care of the procurement, we take care of the logistics and the installations, and then finally we do a staging and a photo shoot afterwards. So those are a few things that actually you can do in order to pocket more profits, in the sense that you actually launch a new service. So this is what we are doing. Here are a few use cases on actually what we were offering. So again, the importance here is that customer experience has to be on your prime priority. By creating a customer experience that, and you paint a story of how that experience, how it will look like actually inside of the apartment, automatically you will have a higher booking rate, and you can also charge a higher nightly rate. So those are a few of the designs that we offer in our portfolio and to our clients. And all of them are made in a way that you create this experience inside of that room. So we have different designs and for different tastes. And obviously the fine print here is that you find a uniqueness inside of the offering that you have, because you're competing most probably in a crowded market where you have to find a unique selling point in order to stick out of the mass. And this is something that we are very keen on focusing on quality and service, and really the convenience that we are selling to our customers. So it's more like a hands-off white glove service that and a once for all, like this one-stop solution that we're offering here. Also important is a big plus that you can play with are partnerships. Partnerships with, for example, Tableblad, which is one of our partners that we have in our portfolio. It's a Finnish company and it's a Finnish design as well. The beauty of the concept is as well the simplicity, and you actually turn a table into a bed within 10 seconds. So the result will be that you have a high occupancy, you can charge a higher nightly rate, and again, you have the beauty of the design inside of the property that you can advertise and promote on. So this is really like some key features that you can use to your advantage in order to perform better, present yourself better, and then ultimately sell also more and pocket a higher margin on the things that you do. So lastly, the process of setting up a property is always the same. You need to stage it, you need to create good photography, you have to decorate it, you have to make it fully equipped. So all of these services are additional services which are next to the general management that we're offering. So in our opinion, it should also be charged to the owner as an upsell, so that you can actually reduce your setup costs. So again, the setup cost is most probably the highest cost that you will encounter, or at least that should be the goal, the highest cost that you encounter when you actually onboard a property. And later on, the maintenance cost is relatively low if you use automation tools that we also have here today from Guesty, from UpsellGuru or Duve. And this is where the sweet spot actually comes in. So by actually including new services like staging of photography and the service from before, you bring down your costs because you have an additional revenue. So your cost of acquisition goes down, your margins go higher. And the ultimate benefit of it is that you can actually promote the apartment and upsell it to a higher nightly price. So ultimately, you have more revenue inside. So important here is that what we always like to promote in the team is that customer experience begins not at the check-in, but at the first digital contact with the property. Most property management companies don't take this enough seriously, because you need to tell a story at the first moment when someone actually sees the apartment. That starts from the title to the description, to the way how you actually take the photos from which angle, to of course the equipment and all of these other things. And this is the first moment where you have an opportunity to tell a story and actually sell the property. So you have to be able to stick out of the mass. And what I like to say is like, it's similar to when we were all kids and we wanted to go to a sandbox and build our castle. And normally you operate in very crowded markets. So the sandbox is really, really crowded. So if you want to build your castle and stick out, well, you got to find a unique way in order to be different from your competitors. And this is something that was really working well for us, which we implemented also. And now moving from offline, so what are the things that you can sell and upsell on an offline way to more the online way. And here we actually currently working with Duve and being onboarded by them. And a few of the pictures that we are implementing at the moment. I mean, obviously Paulina, she will be much more in detail and much more keen on presenting this, but this can start from luggage storage. This can start be a parking fee, or this can be a simple extra cleaning that you offer, a mid-stay cleaning, for example. So all of these services are new ways in order for you to increase your profits by simply using something that is already existent. So it's really important to make sure that a customer will only book something if they know that it can be booked. So the service has to be suggested so that you can actually also sell the service, and the timing has to be right. So most probably you are not going to sell an extra cleaning if the person is not inside of the apartment. If someone stays for 2 weeks, you have the opportunity to simply sell an extra cleaning or maybe offer a parking option. And this is an amazing opportunity to just drive higher profits. So those are a few of the use cases that we were experimenting with and implementing further and further, and that really worked well for us. So I'm happy that I was able to share all of them. And definitely here are my contact details. We are more than open to also share our experiences with everybody. So feel free to reach out to us. A few of the services that we present here, we can also support you in a way. So definitely make sure to reach out to us and ask me for a professional exchange on LinkedIn or email. And then I will be more than glad to answer additional questions. And I hope that my input today was of value for you today, and that the things that were presented today are helpful on a day-to-day basis and on the things that you're tackling and working on. So thank you for the opportunity, Paul, and I hand the mic over back to you if there are any questions. I mean, I'm more than glad to answer.
Yeah, thank you for that, Giacomo. That was fantastic. When I think about this business model, you're almost operating as a mini marketplace, and you're upselling to your owners on one side, and you're also upselling to your guests on the other. And anything you're able to upsell to the owners is going to net kind of this compounding return for you in ADR. So not only are you getting the money up front from the owners, you're also increasing your ADR, which means your property management percentage is going up month after month after month. So just a really great use case of kind of looking at your entire ecosystem and seeing where can I really maximize at every step of this ecosystem. Just fantastic. All right, Paulina, I think you are next. So really excited to hear about Duve and its offering.
Sure, thanks so much for having me. So nice to meet you all virtually, of course. I know we're all getting super excited to get back to traveling, so it's really fun for me to talk about this topic, upselling to your guests. So just a little bit about Duve and myself, of course. I'm a customer success manager here at Duve. I help our customers implement and optimize their Duve platforms for their guests and also for their teams. Duve is an end-to-end guest management platform that helps hotels and vacation rentals and property managers offer a personalized digital experience, improving guest satisfaction, revenue, and performance. We're live in over 60 countries worldwide. And we really help. It's a very flexible solution to help you upsell and engage your guests at every step of the guest journey. So what is upselling? So our goal with upselling is to boost revenue and improve guest satisfaction. So when your guests are coming to booking your accommodation, the concept behind it is that they've chosen you to be their perfect host for their vacation, business trip, a honeymoon, however you want to talk about it. So they've chosen you to be their perfect host. So who's more perfect to upsell to them and to tell them all about the greatest things to do in the area, the best restaurants, the most fun activities to do, other than you, a true local to the area. So some of the different upsell opportunities you can offer can range from anything from food, services, experiences, and tours, as well as some of what Giacomo said, parking, pet fees, luggage storage, and things like that. So here for our upselling opportunities, some things that are available within the Duve platform, but also you can implement for yourself as well. We have early check-in and late checkout, which are just available only if there's no room, if there's no reservation on the room for the night before the guest stay or the night of the guest checkout. It's just really easy to maximize that revenue on that room if there is no existing reservation on that room. We have a transportation upsell available within the Duve platform. We work specifically with a dispatch service, but if you work with a local provider, you can add them to the platform as well. And then we also have custom services, which can range from anything from French baking class. You can offer baby cots, grab and go booster seats, Eiffel Tower tours, anything that any local tour guides that you're in contact with, local bakeries, local bike rentals, things like that. You can invite your local supplier to do and offer their services to your guests. We see that Airbnb guests spend 3.2 times more than any other tourist, and 45% of their spending are in the neighborhood where they stay. So I know that I love when I go traveling. I want to hear everything that's like the best things to do. If I'm in London, Paris, New York, Luxembourg, then I want to know what the best places to go to eat are. I want to know what the best places, what the best things to do in the area if I'm there on vacation. So we're seeing that many of these Airbnb guests specifically are spending locally. So how to offer upsells. So there's many mechanisms within the Duve platform where you can offer upsells. If you're not currently offering upsells, you can do it one step at a time. If you're offering custom services, early check-in, late checkout for our hotels that want to use room upgrades, all your guests need to know is that the services exist. If they don't know that they exist, they won't know that they're available, and they won't be attracted to purchase them. So through our confirmation email, online check-in, I like to say that the upsells are kind of sprinkled in, even if they don't purchase it immediately when they're doing the pre-check-in or when they're looking at their guest app the first time. You can build in systems for pre-scheduled messages, digital spots, which are QR codes, to send guests messages who are already interested in opt-in for marketing, who are already interested in parking or mid-stay cleanings, or why are they coming at all? So there are many systems within Duve to be able to offer those upsells, and especially make that a personalized experience for them. So here we have our best practices. So our best practices with the system is guest messaging, being proactive and reaching out to guests that they're with mediums they're most familiar with, whether that's email, SMS, or WhatsApp. Really reaching the guests where they are, because guests are super used to already communicating with their phones. So reach them where they are. Pre-arrival, engage with your guests the entire from the moment that they've booked until after they've checked out. Once the guest knows that these services are available, they're starting to get excited for their stay and their vacation. I know that we said that we're all super excited to get back on the road. I know I miss it so much, and I'm so excited to get back to my old favorite places, as well as see new places as well. So offering your upsells through pre-scheduled messages, broadcast messaging, and things like that can really get guests excited for all of the different services that you could be offering. Easy purchase is one of them, ensuring that the booking process for bike rentals, tours, and things like that is as easy as possible. It's the best way to increase conversion rate. Making them personalized through smart filters. We have smart filters within the system that you can message guests who are in-house on Tuesdays, inviting them to make a reservation at a local restaurant. If you have a bar, if you're a hotelier and you have a bar in your hotel and you want to offer a specific upsell for happy hour, you can message all of those guests minus family reservations that are going to be in-house, and offer them special discounts just for being there. Most important, create cool content, have great experiences within the system, within Duve. Have really cool bike rentals. Talk to local tour guides about things that they're offering that you can add. The best things are the coolest things that only locals do, and the most hidden spots. And the last thing is translations, communicating with the guests in their own native language. It just makes it much more comfortable for the guests to communicate with, and it just makes it a much more personal experience. So some of our use cases is one of our hoteliers added a pre-scheduled message that it was sent to all guests arriving between Thursday and Friday And the pre-scheduled message was offering them a special discount on a food market tour on that Saturday. Within our system, we saw that they had $5,000 in there just from Upsell, just from that one message being sent every Thursday and Friday to all of the arriving guests. People were so excited to get out and really try the local cuisine and all of the cool new shops in the area. So that was connecting with a local tour guide who had connections to all of these different restaurants. And we just made it super easy for the hosts to provide that, because we have the payment processing already within Duve. They could add it to the hotel bill so that the guests didn't even have to open a credit, even have to take out their credit card. And then it was, and then the guest was forwarded to the guest app, where they were able to view all of the other cool activities and guidebook posts that were being offered. Another one of our features is digital spots, where you can put QR codes, in a little nice picture frame within every room. And then this would have QR codes to specifically look the restaurant, spa, or even the guest app. And one of our hosts saw 700 views on the guest app in general, just in July alone. July's not even over yet. So this is a great way to promote the activities and services to the guests. Customers can really customize these and personalize these different guest apps to really serve the customers that they're looking for. And then with our analytics, you would also be able to see what post guests are really looking at, and what guests are interested in seeing in your area, and cater to that. So definitely, thank you so much for having me speak today. This was super, super fun. We're offering a 30-day free trial to all Guesty customers or potential Guesty customers that are here today. No strings attached. If you are looking for more information, feel free to visit our website, getduve.com, and book a demo with one of our associates to be able to learn more about how you can engage and upsell to your guests and maximize revenue and guest satisfaction. And if you want to contact me personally, you can contact me through LinkedIn, and my email address is right here, paulina@getduve.com. Thanks so much for having me again. And Paul, I'll throw it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Paulina. I mean, just fantastic. You mentioned something about, the guests kind of are looking for that locals experience. And that always seems so true every time I'm traveling. I want to know the thing that every other tourist doesn't know about the city. That's fantastic, right? And so if you're already offering those suggestions as a host, why not monetize the fact that you're playing on people wanting that local experience? And so it sounds like Duve is perfectly positioned to kind of help you monetize those certain areas of your business. So thank you very much. That was awesome. All right, up next, to learn a little bit more about UpsellGuru, Scott Reed is going to show us what he's got.
Thanks so much for the opportunity to share with you some ideas on upselling, maximizing spend. My name is Scott. I'm the head of sales at UpsellGuru. And the understanding is that you guys have thought about upselling. You see the value in pre-arrival upselling in particular. And now it's more, but how can we put that strategy into play? How can we execute them? So that's what we're going to be talking about today, with a little bit more on UpsellGuru, but also more ideas for what can you do for your upsell strategy. So on that note, we are a upselling and guest communication platform. That's all stages of the journey, from pre-arrival, in-house, post-stay. And as we think about revenue for this specific topic, is that could be maybe a digital registration card where you say, what is the reason for your visit? Celebrating a birthday, anniversary. Pre-arrival upsells, which we'll get into in a second. Maybe it's an in-house message. You want to let the guests know, hey, we have a discount on our massage, or how about a late checkout the day before they check out? And of course, post-stay, you can offer them discounts for a future booking. But our customers, over 1,000 throughout the world, wide range of customers, as you can see. And that goes from global hotel chains down to independent boutique properties. So really everything that's out there. And what we'll go into right now are just some interesting facts about the pre-arrival journey and the importance of offering guests a chance to spend more money before they arrive. So Paulina, well, actually everyone has touched on this, but we want to make the guests know about the services that you're offering, because 92% of travelers are interested in some type of upsell. From there, we've seen that 60 to 70% of your existing customers are more likely to spend money as a current customer. So that goes into a little bit of upsell strategy, like, well, Amazon, I think in 2019, they made 35% of their overall revenue from upsells. And one of my favorite examples is McDonald's, where you say what you want about their food, that's a different topic, but the question, do you want fries with that, has made billions of dollars. So getting the guest to think about, oh, you know what, I didn't know I could get fries with that. Well, maybe that's not the best example, but it goes into travelers are more likely to spend money before they arrive. And it goes back to that pre-arrival stage where Giacomo mentioned the timing. So thinking about maybe, in our case, 2 to 3 days before arrival are where we see the best results. The guest is in that packing stage and getting really excited about the trip. Paul mentioned that there is future travel plans, November, December, things are already getting booked out. So when you made that reservation, you might not be thinking exactly about what you want to do on your trip. Hence, 2, 3, 4, 5 days before arrival, send the guests a message, let them know about everything they can do when they're on site. And that takes us into the pre-arrival. So the highlights here are going to be streamlining operations, increasing revenue, enhancing the guest experience. With our two-way integration with Guesty, it's really great because that's going into all the automation. Once you have set up your account, there's no manual touch points needed. If you want, you can 100% automate everything. Email goes out personalized to the guest based on whether it's the room type, rate plan, market segment, direct booking versus an OTA. But what we're going to do is give them a chance to bid on a room upgrade. As you can see, 12% average conversion rate. You put in your minimums and maximums for the price, and it's the guest that gets to decide what they want to spend. And we'll get into a little bit more of the bidding in a second here. And you might be thinking, well, I have apartment complex that doesn't have a lot of different room categories. You know, that's not a problem, because very important piece to all of this is those extras. So we've seen some really great examples. Actually, Paulina, Paris's Darkest Secrets, that I'm very curious to learn more about what that is. But it goes into getting creative, thinking outside of the box. How can you, either package services, maybe it's with a third-party provider, but the really straightforward early check-in, late checkout, there's no overhead there. Everybody should be doing that. And whether it's a breakfast, a bottle of wine, flowers, Prosecco, golf package, or tours, city tours, swimming with the dolphins, really it goes back to thinking creatively and giving things a try. You never know until you put it out there. But yeah, back to the bidding. So it's really one of the differentiators with UpsellGuru is that because the guest has a chance to win an upgrade, there's the gamification, the excitement of, oh my God, I could win something, but also the control from the guest that they're choosing what to spend. Because of that, we see really great conversions. And there's talk about how travel might change or is changing, has changed, guest expectations, et cetera. So the control factor is really nice. And it's just a unique way to engage with them. We've seen with the airlines, maybe you guys are familiar with this, the bid for economy class to business class. They've been doing it for 10 years at least, and goes back to the billions of dollars that's been made in ancillary revenue. And actually, I think of free or pre-arrival revenue as free money. It's out there. Guests are willing to spend more money, like we've been talking about. So finding that win-win situation. The guest is excited about the service that they're going to get. You as the property are getting more money per reservation. Everybody is focused on revenue. Everybody suffered from lost revenue from the last 18 months or so, who's counting. But thinking on the positive sides, what can we do now to help for when travel picks back up? We've seen some really nice numbers. You can look at the revenue per 1,000 emails. For luxury properties, we're averaging around €6 per email sent. And that goes to the mid-scale around €3 per email. The nice thing, or actually, we just started with a group in Mexico and the Caribbean. They're running around $10 per email. So that's really great to see that it goes back to most important is to make up lost revenue. How can we find ways to do so? Another case study here with an apart hotel in Berlin. You can see much smaller property, but they're averaging around 45 euros per transaction. Every email is generating around €4 at a 9% conversion. So it's slow but steady. Small things add up at the end, and depending on what you can offer, I really think sky's the limit, and it's something to get excited for, because I'm sure people have indulged in some upsells. I love it. It just makes the stay that much better. And the circle of happy guest, they leave a better review. The more good reviews, the higher you can charge your rates. And it just keeps going in that cycle. So really important. And on that, thanks again for giving me the time today to share a little bit more about UpsellGuru, but also hopefully you guys got some good ideas on where to start with that upsell strategy and how you can streamline operations, increase revenue, enhance the guest experience. My information is right here, scott@upsellguru.com if you want to reach out. Find me on LinkedIn. And we do have a 1-month free trial for anyone that's interested in exploring more. Thanks for the time today. Back to you, Paul.
Awesome, Scott. That was really great. My mind is actually blown a little bit to look at a metric that's revenue per email. If I was making €4 per every email, I would just be sending emails all day long, offering every upsell service I possibly could, because obviously emails are such a low kind of operational overhead, and if you're able to monetize those, I mean, the results could be just astronomical for you. And then I love the gamification that you guys are offering as far as what you saw in the airline industry or other hospitality areas. Obviously, imitation is the best form of flattery. And so it totally makes sense for us to carry through some of that gamification to the SDR world for our PMCs to really start leveraging that type of experience for our guests. Not to mention, even when you're losing in the gamification, someone didn't choose, or didn't win the upgrade, you still know you have insights into what their value was for the thing that you were offering, right? And so it's this really creative way of kind of engaging the guest to see exactly where are their price points, and should I acquiesce to these price points in the future, or should I stay firm? And so you could pull a ton of analytics there, I imagine.
You are hitting many nails on the head here. There's a lot of ways that you know what the guest is doing. So maybe you reject a bid because it's too low. Maybe you send them another email saying, thanks for this bid, how about this number? So you can play around with it, but you ultimately know that they're interested in spending money. So maybe that bid wasn't accepted, but you can say later in their stay, or, hey, how about this? So it's like you said, getting insight into their needs, what's important to them, and going from there.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, you first offer the premium penthouse suite, their bid's a little bit lower, and then you go, how about the junior suite? That's within your price range. And then there you go. You've captured that kind of extra revenue. So that's really great. So all right, now for my favorite part, which is the panel discussion. This is where we get to kind of free flow a little bit. Each one of you, in some form or another, had cited awareness being the #1 kind of priority in upsell. I date this back to a saying that my mom had drilled into me from day one, which is, if you don't ask, you don't get, right? And so I think for the longest time, property management companies or property managers have felt this stigma almost around upselling, where they've already maximized their accommodation rates, and they felt like they need to give away some added services in order to get the positive reviews. And I wanted to open it up to this panel and just help dispel that stigma. Tell us kind of what is the easiest day one upsell that a PMC can offer that won't be met with any kind of apprehension from the guest. And I guess I'll go to the PMC first here. Giacomo, why don't you tell us about the easiest upsell and the most profitable way that you guys have implemented it?
I think the most easiest upsell, I mean, again, we have the two ones that we focus most, which is one time the offline upsell that we do, and then the online upsell. So the easiest is definitely, like, I would say, photography and the general setup. So that's like something that is just it's kind of mandatory, and it just makes sense. So it's kind of a no-brainer for an owner to explain that we need great photography to actually promote the property. I think even Airbnb, they're still doing this, that they actually offer I think they were doing this where they brought in a photographer themselves. So it's the same principle, right? And then this cost was deducted by the revenue afterwards. So it's the same idea, and I would say it's the easiest offline sale that you can do. Now going from more to an online sale, like, we definitely have the weekly cleanings, which is I think we I don't know how many we do have in a month, but we do have quite a bit. So it's a standard that we want to sell. So obviously what we focus on a lot, like also in the whole presentation that we shared to everybody today, is that our quality requirement and standard that we want to kind of get to the market is pretty high. So and by doing so, we eliminate a lot of problems in the first place, and we just have a higher revenue also in the first place because of the nightly rate. And one of the things that is always kind of like almost mandatory with a high level nightly rate is a weekly cleaning, which is, I would say, the easiest to upsell for us. So those were the two things where we saw a great increase in turnover and sales afterward.
Yeah, just to drill in a little bit, right? So you're talking about upselling on the owner side, right? When you're talking about the photography, for instance. This is a service that a lot of PMCs that I imagine that you're competing with are offering at no cost as part of like the overall package. So how are you positioning kind of that upsell? Like, what is the Arca advantage of your photography versus something that's being offered for free?
I think it's a general, more like an identity question, or like kind of positioning on the market. So what we focus on, again, is on quality, and like, people know when you come to Arca that we have a certain service that it's not a question, like, it's more like this is what we do.
Yeah,
this is how we operate, and if you want to work with us, we impose it more. We impose it more to the owner, in a sense that well, it's a requirement, and we do, and obviously every operator works differently. So it depends now how your contracts work, and how the minimum contract length as well is. And obviously you're having a risk, right? So you spend a lot of money, and then your earnings are more showing later because the setup costs are very high at the beginning. So obviously you want to minimize the risk and have a quick cash flow right at the beginning. And the easiest way to do so is well, to make sure that it is well understood and the benefits are felt right away. I mean, I think I don't have a statistic here to share, but everybody, I think it's a no-brainer that well, if a property is well presented and you have good photography, well, then you can sell it easily. So that's something that really work well for us. So and yeah.
I love it. It's almost like the assumed close saying, listen, Arca's standard is well above where our competition is. And so you need to come up to our standard and you need to pay for that standard in order to work with it. It's
and a few customers, again, it depends how you want to position yourself on the market. A few customers might not want to work with you, but obviously then most of the time, every owner who has a certain level of property, can spend the 200-300 euros on photography, right? So I wouldn't say that that's a turn off. It's more of how you present it than anything else. So
great. All right. So Paulina and Scott, you guys have this really unique view, right? So Arca's looking at it through the lens of just one PMC, but you guys can scan across the entire kind of ecosystem in the lens, right? And so what are you seeing as being the most successful upsell types? Like where, if you're looking across the board at all the various different upsells, whether it's room upgrades or food and beverage or early check-in luggage storage, like Paulina, what is Duve seeing as far as the number one kind of upsell?
I would say that it's changing now. So in the middle of pre-pandemic, it was very much like going out and having those activities, those in-person food market tours, whale watching, bike rentals, where you can get out and go. And then during the pandemic, we saw that there was the shift to having similar experiences like that, but indoors. So instead of going to a bar and getting a bartender to make you a drink, they would mail you or your host would drop off like a mix kit for you to make those drinks at home and enjoy like a nice movie. So we're definitely seeing that. And now we're definitely seeing that those in-person activities are really coming back in a big way, because people are really excited to, we're all excited to get out of the house and really experience different cities and get out of bed. Where during the pandemic, we really saw that those mixed kits, game boxes that were delivered to your door, food delivery was very, very popular. But now we're really seeing like that shift to everyone's hopefully coming out of the other side.
I mean, that's a great example. It speaks to the flexibility and the creativity of kind of the PMC business model of saying, all right, I used to capitalize here. This isn't on the table anymore. What are people actually doing? And in the thought of someone bringing me like popcorn and, an old fashioned to my room so that I could watch, my favorite movie, makes perfect sense. I'd pay a premium for that for sure when I'm on the road.
Yeah. We have hosts that have like multiple different kinds of packages, whether it's like girls' night or guys' night, or it's Christmas time or it's summertime or rom-com, as long as you have like your buttered popcorn and your Sour Patch Kids, what else could you possibly need in a night?
It also sounds like a really great way if you have a person in your organization as a property management company that likes to be super creative and seasonal. It's a great way to leverage that creativity and offer that as an upsell to your guests. All right, same question to you, Scott. What are you guys seeing as far as like the number one upsell category where your clients are just, the margins are great and it's really easy to kind of close one in?
Yeah, the easiest are early check-in, late checkouts. Those are the high flyers, no-brainers. Parking has also seen an uptick because so many people are now driving to destinations. An interesting thing was actually in Amsterdam, the property we're working with, they said that they've sold more bottles of champagne in 2 weeks with UpsellGuru than they had in 2 years on their website. So it really goes back to the whole conversation of let the guests know what you guys have. They might not be scouring the websites, but yeah, you hear a lot about the cocktail kits being really popular, dinner delivered to your door, the 3-course meal delivered to your room. And now that food and beverages is starting to come back, that's great. I'm hearing about spa treatments as well, that as spas start to reopen, they're selling like hotcakes. So it's self-care. It's important, but yeah, that's the real easy wins that we've seen.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a great reminder, actually, because you're citing the low-hanging fruit as being early check-ins and late checkouts. And I know, from my experience of dealing with the America's customer base, that folks want to get going on upsells, and they recognize that there's a need for it. They just don't know what's the first step that I should take. What's the first type of upsell should I offer? And as it becomes more and more standardized across the space for the early check-in or the late checkout, similar to what we've seen in the hotel world, it's going to get easier and easier for PMCs to start capitalizing off of that. So we actually have some questions from the audience. So I want to get to one of them, which is, what would you offer as a best practice for pricing an upsell, right? So oftentimes, Paulina, you were mentioning, work with your tour guide companies, offer these neighborhood local services. What are you seeing as far as like, what pricing increase should I charge on top of the service that I'm selling? Like, what is an acceptable amount? Or is it just see what you can get away with, how much you can get away with? Like, what approach should PMCs take?
We recommend that you definitely speak with the supplier about what you're planning on offering. We don't really have like a kind of like guideline for that, but we see that like a 5-10% like markup on whatever the supplier price is. We also have that ability within the system to kind of like gauge like, oh, maybe this is like a little bit, this is a little like this, like you can do it depending on like nights per stay, you could do it on the bed types, like it really depends the kind of upsell that you're offering. But if you're speaking with that supplier, also we see that we don't want to offer like a price higher on Duve that the guest could get somewhere else. So that's definitely also like part of the conversation of making sure that you're really providing like a great service at a great price to your guests.
Got it. I mean, to a lot of ways that makes sense to me, but you also have a captured audience a little bit with your guests, right? They're looking at your application, they're looking at your offering, and so maybe there is a little bit of opportunity there, I would think, to kind of up the price beyond just kind of the standard. Giacomo, you're actually implementing upsells. What is your commission strategy? Keep in mind that your guests may be listening, so.
No problem. I mean, we are at the moment onboarding. I mean, the entire like new way of doing upsells with Duve. So we are one of the new customers there. So our experience was so we're testing the new things. Obviously, you wanna have enough to offer, but not also don't go ballistic and go crazy then on having like 100 things that you go on day one. So it has to also work within your organization. So so what shouldn't happen is that you just start doing a weekly cleaning that can be then ordered or like booked in order to improve the guest experience. But then, well, the weekly cleaning doesn't happen because it wasn't scheduled automatically. But there are a few things that are important to consider once you actually go and implement the services and have a balanced offer. And then obviously to find the sweet spot on where you. I don't think everything can be priced the same. It has to be a few things are maybe you don't make no margin, that you just want to make sure that the customer has a great experience, and you just want to make sure that this is implemented well, and that and you want to make sure that this, because the 5 stars already an upsell afterwards, because the 5-star will bring you new bookings. So it depends how you play with it. There's no golden rule. I would say you have to implement it and make it work for your own organization. And afterwards, once you find the sweet spot for a few things, it's more of playing around and finding the percentages, as you said, that makes sense for everything. And then that's the way we approach it. And I'm looking forward to kind of like finish the setup. So we are not only theorizing, but also like implementing it and really spreading it among the organization as it should be.
I absolutely love the fact that you said no margin, right? Because so often when you're talking about upselling, you're always talking about what is the revenue gain to my organization. If we're going to offer this, what are we getting from a monetary standpoint? But when you say no margin, you're now citing the added benefits, the hidden concealed benefits of having upsell offerings, where there's previously the stigma of, I don't want to have to, seem like I'm I'm over pushing on my sales, versus the approach of the guest actually wants opportunities to spend more money. And you're uncovering that as far as positive reviews, increased kind of operations. Think about it. If you offer a at cost mid-stay cleaning, that's going to reduce the amount of time that you're spending on cleaning following the checkup, right? So you're creating operational efficiencies and capturing kind of the cost for the mid-stay cleaning, not necessarily something that you need to make a margin on, because operationally you're going to see the benefits of it long term. Also, it allows you. I know that oftentimes with extended stays, you kind of want to know what's going on, halfway through the stay in that room. So
Good point. Yeah.
That's a really great offering. All right, so Scott, you had touched on something that was very real, which is you painted this picture of the guest packing up for their trip, or the guest kind of preparing or booking their trip, right? And so this alludes to kind of timing, right? And so like much in life, it all comes down to timing and awareness. So what are you offering as far as best practices of when you're creating the awareness in terms of timing? Are you unveiling everything like a few days before check-in? Are you doing things mid-stay? Are you doing things after, if that makes sense? Like what should a PMC be targeting as far as timing?
Yeah, all of the above. The pre-arrival that we're seeing the best results are usually 2 to 3 days before.
Okay.
But this really goes back to the strategy of the property. You can send an email or a text message 7 days before arrival, and then another one 2 days before arrival, and see what the interaction is, the engagement is. Like I said, best results are like one touch point before, solely focused on that pre-arrival. But like I mentioned briefly, maybe you want to send an in-house text or email 3 days into their stay. They're staying for 7 days, and saying, "Hey, by the way, we've got this great discount. Want to check it out?" And then post stay as well. Let them know about future advantages to book direct. But yeah, you want to find the balance between not overwhelming them with stuff, but really finding the value there. And yeah, I guess they're excited to spend more, but you could also even do like a greener stay, where that just comes to mind, that people want to also, I mean, maybe the mid week cleaning is great, but maybe they also don't need the midweek cleaning, and you can save there on expenses, help the planet, etc. Like people want to do, yeah. So it's about putting that information in their hands, I think, more than anything.
Okay. Yeah, what's interesting is I'd be curious to see, you talked about revenue per email, right? I imagine it being a little bit of a bell curve. There's a perfect kind of sweet spot of the volume of emails to the revenue received. And then there's this diminishing return if you probably hit too much volume. And so you'll never know until you push kind of the edges on both ends of when do we start emailing, how many emails do we send? Here's a question for all of you, right? We've got these software services. We've got UpsellGuru, we've got Duve. But at the end of the day, these can feel a little bit robotic at times, right? And I'm sure that some guests much prefer the one-to-one kind of personal experience. They want to be sold beyond just the content of text in an email. Are you seeing any of your clients, or are you guys doing this at Arca, where you're offering personalized touch for some of the more higher margin, upsell opportunities, or what are guests doing in that space? Paulina, I'll let you kind of kick us off.
Sure. So we definitely understand that, but we think that Duve as a platform really kind of takes away the administrative kind of like awkward kind of interactions of like asking for payment and asking what time you're going to arrive and signing the contracts and things like that, so that you can focus more on those personal interactions. We have those pre-scheduled messages within the system based on guest preferences, and just to show them exactly what they're looking for, so that everything is kind of out of the way in that way of all of the kind of bureaucracy and the politics of it, so that if you as a host are looking at your guest profile and you're seeing oh, they're coming to Paris for the weekend with 2 kids, or what do I have in my guest app that would cater to that? And you can message, you can take away all of the administrative backend and really personalize all the conversation to those guests specifically based on their guest profile.
Yeah, I guess you're right. The actual collection and asking of the money is probably the hardest part of any upsell. Socializing it can be, really personable. Giacomo, are you guys doing anything as far as more personal touch towards higher kind of margin upsells?
I think again it comes down to what is your business model. If you have a hotel and then upsell, a physical upsell makes maybe more sense because, well, people like to go to a receptionist and then they want to order something right away and maybe dial a phone call and then get a bottle of champagne, as Scott said, maybe even like this. But for us, like what we focus on is automating things and making sure we are cost effective, because in our opinion, it doesn't make sense to include a service in a personal way where you make a small upsell, let's say, but that service costs you more than you can actually earn from a margin point of view. So I wouldn't say that even though we focus on quality and these things, we wouldn't go in the direction of promoting physical sales. Actually, it should be one of our focuses is always automating things, and still now the challenge comes when you automate and use the services that or maybe sell online. Well, how can you make it as human as possible, right? I think that should be the more important question, and how you also want to like design your processes and messaging to not sound like a robot, but have a little bit of human touch or something that is more personal. And then of course maybe some people will call you and ask you, and then you explain on the phone. But it shouldn't. I mean, that's at least for us. It's not gonna be our main priority per se.
Okay, great. It makes sense. I mean, I think people are becoming more and more accustomed to buying things just by themselves with no human touch. And so if you can actually humanize the message, it makes sense that they would feel comfortable buying there. And then obviously you have the call support to inform any questions that may arise. All right, Scott, take us home. How are you humanizing UpsellGuru?
Well, I am reaching now. The humanizing, or the human aspect of it, unfortunately goes back to what people have been saying, is that we're automating these processes. Yep. However, you're segmenting your guests, so you can choose not to send to a specific email. If you know that this guest wants to be called on the phone, then don't put them in so that they're not getting emails sent to them. That's the easiest way to do it, and that would take away any issue. But the idea is going back to like personalizing a message to them. They don't know that they're engaging with UpsellGuru. Everything has the look and feel of the property. So that's really important. But everybody has different ideas on what they want to do, how they want to run their business. So we don't tell people what to do. It's more like this is what we've seen results with, this is our experience, and we take it from there.
Yeah. And you actually touched on a really great point that we didn't talk about in this forum that we could probably spend a whole webinar talking about, which is the upsell provides for more brand awareness into the PMC, right? And so oftentimes if you're booking on an OTA, you may not be 100% familiar with the company you're staying with. But once you start getting these upsell opportunities with branded logos on the top, it's more and more awareness that this positive stay is related to an Arca or related to that PMC's brand. So would anyone from the panel like to say just a little something about your offering or kind of the future of upsells in the STR space?
Just to do it. People are willing to spend more money. We've seen it last year. It's whatever you do, you should do something. So hopefully this is giving you some ideas on how you can package services together, how you can get creative, and happy upselling.
Oh man, you even said package services together. We didn't even talk about packages and kind of the ability to add these multipliers of multiple upsells coming together. Great words of wisdom, Scott. Anything, Giacomo or Paulina?
I'll say, oh, sorry.
Giacomo. Go ahead.
Ladies first.
I'll just say that if you're not currently upselling, definitely start small. Start with those mid-stay cleaning, start with those in-house products that you can already offer. And then, once you can use your analytics within any platform that you use, to really expand your portfolio of services that you're offering. Start with that mid-stay cleaning, start with that parking fee or the pet fee, and then expand to restaurant, food delivery, like services, tour guides, things like that, because the sky's the limit, really.
That's right. You got to put a toe in the water before you could dive all the way in.
Exactly.
From starting small, you get a ton of learnings, and you could avoid a lot of major mistakes from those early learnings. And so, Giacomo, take us home.
Perfect. I mean, I can actually just confirm also what Paulina says. There's no perfect timing to start anything, so just go for it. What I want to, I think, a little bit more address here that at the end is that, I mean, everybody here on today's call, it allows property managers to outsource something, right? To use something that is already existing and use it to their advantage, right? So even if it is a service like Duve or UpsellGuru, they allow you to actually just use what is already there, and you don't have to recreate it yourself. So, I mean, this is what Arca Home, at the end of the day, is going to be a service for furnishing and decoration, and we're going to offer also interior design consultancy and other things. So even if you don't have the capacity of doing it yourself, just work with people and companies that know what they're doing, and then just write a bill on top of that. What is the whole purpose of what is the purpose of today's call anyway? So that's kind of like my common sense at the end, and it was really great participating in today's session. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you each. What do you think the right percentage of the ADR of the average daily rate is to charge for either an early check-in or a late checkout?
We see between 10 to 20 euro dollar.
Oh, you're seeing a flat rate. It's not even a percentage. So if it's a luxury unit or something like that, it wouldn't be 20% of what the average daily rate of that luxury unit is. It would just be 20 euros early check-in, 3.
Yeah, we've just done flat fees. I mean, you could even bid on it if you want, but I would just put a flat fee in there, and because some people can get in for the early check-in, depending on when a plane arrives. Who knows if they're going to get there by then? So it's a little bit different audience, but again, it goes back to start small. 10 euros, 20 euros is better than 0 euros. But of course, if the property costs $1,000 a night, raise that rate a little bit for an early check-in.
All right, makes sense. Giacomo, what do you guys think as far as percentage?
I think I can totally agree with Scott. It depends on the property, and I first want to say like something like 10, 15% maybe, but then obviously if you have a 10K bill, you're not going to charge 1K, for an early check-in. So I think you need to find the sweet spot for every property. So I would definitely agree with Scott here.
Okay, so play around, see what makes sense, and try to maximize there. Paulina?
I'm going to say more of the same. We can do it based on the different times. If you have guests that are coming in on a red eye and they just want to take a shower right when they get off the plane. Definitely do that like in time frames. If they're coming between 9 and 10, it could be one amount. If they're coming between 12 and 1, it's a different amount. And then I would say like customize it per property. If you're managing 10-bedroom home, it's definitely not going to be the same price as a 1-bedroom apartment.
All right, perfect. Great advice, guys. Thank you again. I learned a ton in this Upsell webinar today. I hope everyone listening did as well. You guys are truly experts in the space, and thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.